Welcome, friends of history, to a story etched in stone and soaked in blood. A tale of faith tested by fire and ambition fueled by the flames of religious fervor. We're about to take a deep dive into the most pivotal sieges of Jerusalem in history. These events not only shaped the city, one of the most fought-over patches of land in human history, but also had profound impacts on the world stage. We'll explore the clash of empires, the fervor of religious crusades, and the human cost of conflict, all played out against the backdrop of this ancient and sacred city. So buckle up. This journey will take us through centuries of struggle, sacrifice, and the timeless allure of Jerusalem. Our story begins in the year 70 AD. Imagine, if you will, the Roman Empire at the zenith of its power, its legions marching on Jerusalem, a city already steeped in centuries of conflict. The First Jewish-Roman War, a rebellion against Roman rule, had reached its boiling point. The Roman General Titus, son of Emperor Vespasian, stood poised to unleash the might of Rome upon the rebellious city. Imagine the thunder of Roman siege engines, the desperate prayers of the trapped citizens within Jerusalem's walls, the air thick with the stench of fear and impending doom. The Jewish defenders, outnumbered and outmatched, fought with the courage of desperation. But Roman military discipline and engineering prowess were a force unlike any other. The breaching of Jerusalem's defences was not a matter of if, but when. And when those walls finally crumbled, the consequences were catastrophic. Josephus, the Jewish historian whose words paint a horrifyingly vivid picture of the siege, describes the ensuing carnage in gut-wrenching detail. The Second Temple, the holiest site in Judaism, was consumed by flames, a symbol of the Jewish nation going up in smoke. The streets of Jerusalem ran red with the blood of its inhabitants. The Romans, driven by a brutal efficiency, showed little mercy. The siege of 70 AD wasn't just a military victory, it was a cultural and religious earthquake. The massive loss of life, the enslavement of thousands, the destruction of the temple, these events left an indelible scar on the Jewish psyche. Fast forward centuries and we find Jerusalem once again at the heart of a storm, this time a tempest of religious zeal. It was 1099 and the First Crusade, a wave of Christian fervor emanating from Europe, had reached the walls of the Holy City. Imagine the sight, tens of thousands of Crusaders driven by religious conviction and dreams of reclaiming Jerusalem from Muslim rule, arriving at the walls of the city. They believed they were fighting a holy war, a righteous campaign sanctioned by God, and their enemies, the Fatimid Caliphate, the Muslim rulers of Jerusalem, whose grip on the city was about to be challenged in the most brutal way imaginable. The siege of Jerusalem in 1099 was no less savage than the Roman conquest centuries earlier. The Crusaders, driven by religious fervor and fueled by stories of atrocities supposedly committed against Christian pilgrims, were relentless in their assault. The breach of Jerusalem's walls, when it finally came, unleashed a torrent of violence that shocked even some of the Crusaders themselves. What followed was a bloodbath. The Crusaders, overcome by a mixture of religious ecstasy and bloodlust, engaged in an orgy of violence against the city's inhabitants. Muslim men, women, and children were slaughtered indiscriminately. Even Jews, who had coexisted with the Muslim population, were not spared the Crusaders' wrath. The streets, we are told by chroniclers of the time, were literally running red with blood. The Crusaders, for their part, saw the conquest of Jerusalem as the fulfillment of a divine mandate, a victory for Christendom that would resonate through the ages, and resonate it did. With Jerusalem in their hands, the Crusaders established the Kingdom of Jerusalem, a Latin Christian kingdom that would rule over the Holy Land for nearly a century. The events of 1099 would echo through history, shaping Christian-Muslim relations for centuries to come. Chapter 3, 1187. Saladin's triumph, the crescent returns. But the Crusader grip on Jerusalem was destined to be broken. In 1187, a new power arose in the Middle East. Saladin, the Kurdish Sultan of Egypt and Syria, a leader whose name would become synonymous with chivalry and military brilliance. Imagine the fear that must have gripped the Crusader kingdoms as Saladin's armies marched on Jerusalem. Saladin was not a fanatic but a shrewd strategist and a skilled warrior who understood the strategic importance of Jerusalem. Saladin laid siege to Jerusalem, not with the same unrestrained brutality as the Crusaders of old, but with a calculated precision that spoke to his military genius. Facing Saladin's forces was Balian of Ibelin, the Christian leader tasked with defending the city. He knew the odds were stacked against him, but he was determined to put up a fight. The siege was tense, a chess match played out with the lives of thousands hanging in the balance. Negotiations were attempted, but both sides knew that the fate of Jerusalem would ultimately be decided on the battlefield. When the walls of Jerusalem finally fell to Saladin's forces, many within the city braced themselves for a bloodbath. They had heard the stories of the First Crusade, of the horrors inflicted upon the city's inhabitants. But Saladin was not like the Crusaders. He allowed the Christian population to leave peacefully, albeit after paying a ransom. It was a gesture of mercy, a stark contrast to the brutality that had marked the Crusader conquest of Jerusalem nearly a century earlier. Saladin's recapture of Jerusalem sent shockwaves throughout Christendom, leading to calls for a third crusade to reclaim the holy city. But for now, the crescent moon of Islam flew over Jerusalem once more. Saladin's conquest marked the end of Crusader rule in Jerusalem and ushered in a new chapter in the city's long and tumultuous history. These sieges of Jerusalem were not just battles, they were turning points that reshaped the religious, political, and cultural landscape of the Middle East and the world. The echoes of those ancient struggles can still be felt today. The stories of the Roman legions, the Crusader knights, and the armies of Saladin remind us of the enduring power of faith, the allure of conquest, and the human cost of conflict. Thank you for joining us on this historical journey. Hopefully it's been as thought-provoking for you as it has been for me, but most importantly, I hope these stories inspire you to look deeper into the past, to uncover the human drama that lies at the heart of history. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep the flame of curiosity burning bright.